Hi, welcome back to PC Builder. I'm Jason. This is Boost My Build, the series where we take your PC build list, we tear them up, we put them back together, and massively increase your performance. And man, with major CPU and GPU price cuts that are happening this month, the whole PC building landscape has completely transformed. So we've got three builds. One at $600 for game development. Oh my goodness, can we make that happen? One at $1,500 that wants 1440p with a full setup, including a monitor, and one at $2,000 that wants max FPS, 240 Hz, 1440p, or super high refresh rate, 4K. Remember, if you get value out of the video, give it a like to make a huge difference to the channel, especially this guy right here. And of course, subscribe and click that bell icon. That way you get notified when we release cool content. With that, let's jump into it. This video is sponsored by Squarespace, an incredible online platform to create your own website. It's easy to create a community, integrate your latest social media posts, use the powerful blogging tools, and create members-only content that generates revenue. And e-commerce is easy with inventory management, product promotion, and streamlined bookkeeping. Manage your members, send emails, and leverage audience insights in one easy-to-use platform. Use the link below or go to squarespace.com/PCBuilder to sign up for a free trial and get 10% off your first purchase. We've got Steven OSI who's building their very first PC. All right, 2 thumbs up, Steven OSI. I love it. Their goal is to get the most bang for their buck. They want to be able to do 1080p, 60 FPS comfortably without major frame drops. Actually pretty easy right now. I also use coding software such as Unity and GameMaker Studio, so want to make sure that your build will be able to handle playtesting. Okay. And lastly, they want to make it easily upgradable if possible, but their budget's only $500 or $600. Oh my goodness, you're asking a lot for $500 or $600. Let's see what you got. Oh my goodness, 2019 has come home to roost. What do I mean? This build is from 2019. How do I know that? Because I put almost this exact same build together in 2019, and at the time it was a great thing to build. But it's 2023, man. It's time to get with the time. This is an old build with low levels of performance. Let's start off with your budget, $553.92. You say, Jason, look at that. I came in under my $600 budget, but did you? There's no price in there for your motherboard because this is a garbage tier motherboard that nobody's selling right now. So if we add in an applicable motherboard to this build, you probably come out to about $625 to $650. So you'd come out $25 to $50 over your budget, and we're getting garbage levels of performance. Let's go through the GPU. GTX 1660 Super, brand new for $240. Oh my goodness, it just burns the eyes. Again, this is a GPU that I bought in 2019 for $240, and it made sense then, but it's 4 years later, 4 years. There's so many more good GPUs out there. You can get this used right now for $120 if you wanted to go that route instead. And honestly, 6 gigabytes of VRAM, very, very questionable right now in terms of, especially if you want to do game development and gameplay testing. I would just go, I don't mind the Ryzen 3600 for $94, but just know that the Ryzen 5500, which is slightly faster than the 3600, is available right now for $88. 5500 has more multi-threaded performance, about the same gaming performance as the 3600. Well, actually a little faster than the 3600. I don't love it. I don't love it at all. Yeah, we're not going to do this trash tier A320 motherboard that doesn't even have a price because it's not being sold new anymore. It's got no VRM heat sinks on it. The VRMs look absolutely terrible. This is like totally cut down Radio Shack garbage board. And this is not a board you said you wanted to be able to future upgrade. I would never drop a Ryzen 5800 X3D in the future into this board. It looks like absolute trash. I'm just be afraid that it would completely overheat the poor little VRMs in this thing. So if you want something like that has future portability, we got to get a much better motherboard and one that's actually available. 2 thumbs up on the RAM, 2x8 gigabytes, DDR4, 3200 CL16, $36. There's a couple cheaper kits out there, but I'm not going to ding you for a couple bucks. Just know that we probably can get 32 gigabytes for just about $50, about $15 more. I checked your programs. Doesn't seem like they need 32 gigs, but it's just something to consider for our future game development. The drive, no, stop it with the SATA drives. I want you folks out there, stop buying SATA drives. No more SATA drives. No more SATA drives. You hear me? M.2. Yes, I know it's like $1 or $2 more. Guess what? So many things go wrong with those stupid SATA cables. I've had so many builds not be able to post, the storage not working, and it all came down to some crummy 50-cent SATA cable that wasn't working properly. Go M.2. The other thing is 512 gigs. You want to do game development. I don't think that's enough space for games and game development stuff. Really think we need at least a terabyte here. Case is absolutely fine. I don't have a problem with it. It only comes with one included fan, $50. Yeah, you know, you can get, there's a lot of other cases out there that come with included fans, at least 2 to 3 for about the same price. I would look there first. And the problem I have with this this is then we went and spent another $43 on top for a very decent 5-pack of up here ARGB fans. But at our budget level, we just spent like 90 some odd dollars, almost $95, $100 on a PC case and fans, which is like 20% of our whole budget. Overspending right here. We're killing our performance. That's how we ended up with that GTX 1660 Super. Power supply, I don't mind the power supply. In the past, we would have paid 35 bucks for a unit like this. Now we're paying 66 bucks for it. Kind of feels bad, man. Overall, $553. Again, with a motherboard on this, probably $625, $650. Just trash tier levels of performance. You deserve so much better. We can do a lot better for you, and we're gonna do a lot better for you. Well, this is a $600 gaming and development PC with an upgrade path. Why? Because it's gonna be amazing for what you're looking to do for only $600, and it will have an upgrade path in it. Look at that, $600 US, and it's gonna completely stomp on that poor little build that you were trying to put together. Let's jump into the GPU. If you had a little bit more money, I probably would get a little bit more aggressive with the GPU, but for 200 bucks, we're gonna go with the RX 6600. Remember, you were over budget on yours and you were spending $240. I'm trying to spend about the same amount. Gigabyte Eagle Radiant RX 6600, 8 gigs of VRAM, way faster than that GTX 1660 Super. And I checked your programs. They don't require NVIDIA. Looks like AMD and NVIDIA are equally supported, no problems whatsoever. Now, I do know that the Radeon RX 7600 is coming like the week I'm filming this. I have no advanced information on it. If it's like $249 or $259, you might just think about just finding some extra money and plunking it down on this. The other thing is I do expect these GPUs to continue to go lower in price once that 7600 does hit the market. So that's possible cost savings for you or an opportunity for you to jump up to a more powerful GPU. We went with the Ryzen 5500. It's cheaper than the 3600 for $89 right now. Slightly faster in gaming, definitely faster in terms of multi-threaded production work. Just a better CPU. Yes, it's a monolithic architecture. It's different than the 5600. Trades blows though, and honestly, we just save $5 and go with something a little bit newer. For the motherboard, we went with the ASRock B550M Pro 4. This is a great motherboard. It's got upgraded ALC 1200 audio on it. I still think this is one of the best price performance B550 motherboards for Ryzen 5000 series CPUs. The big problem, it's always had no BIOS flashback on it, but it's come to the point now where they are shipping it with a BIOS that works with the Ryzen 5600 and 5500. So 2 thumbs up on that, yay. And for $105, it's an insane value. For the RAM, you can go either way. I decided to go slightly faster DDR4 3600 CL16 RAM. That way in the future, if you do want to upgrade to like a 5800X3D, you don't have to swap the memory out. You're good to go. That being said, for the same price or like $2 more, you could have gone 3200 CL16 and gotten 32 gigabytes of it. So just double check the programs that you're using. If 32 gigs is more advantageous, I would probably go that route. Although in the future, you can always just grab an exact duplicate kit of this one right here and drop it in alongside and go 4 by 8 gigabytes and get 32 gigs that way of super high speed memory. For the drive, we had to get you a terabyte. I just went with a Silicon Power A61 terabyte, the MP33. There's a lot of just budget drives. Silicon Power drive always tends to be about $1 or $2 cheaper than everybody else. That's why I often recommend it. We've used it in our builds. We like it quite a bit. And you're gonna be able to plug that thing into the motherboard and never have to worry about cables, cable management, cable coming loose, or any kind of nonsense with it. And we got you a full 1 terabyte for your game development needs. For the case, I really like this new Bit Phoenix Nova Mesh. This is a relatively new case on the scene. It's got 3 ARGB fans to it. It's got a lot of airflow. It looks slick. It's got the PSU shroud to it. I just think it's really, really nice for $60. For the PSU, I was just able to find a slightly better deal on the PSU. It's the Bit Phoenix Formula Bronze. It keeps coming in and out of stock right now, so just check back if it's temporarily out of stock. $55. It's C tier rated on the PSU Cultist list. Yes, I know that it's got the ketchup and mustard cables over here. Not everybody loves that. I just wanted to make sure we got underneath that budget, but if you want the all black sleeved cables, go ahead and buy your unit instead. So for $600, we got a massively more performative gaming PC that's capable of playing games at 1080p, not just 60 FPS, but 100 plus FPS. All of your game development stuff, we got faster RAM for it. We got you a full 1 terabyte of storage, right-sized your PC case and fan issues, and got you something that looks totally amazing for just $600 US. That's absolutely insane value. So I hope you feel like your build is boosted. Hi Jason, love watching your videos, says College Dude. Hey College Dude, I'm glad you love watching my videos. I'm currently running an 8700K on a Z390 with a 1070 want to start a new build, it's time. They primarily run Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020. They want to stream as well. They don't think their current CPU and GPU combo can handle it. They also play City Skylines, Civ 6, and they want to start playing Call of Duty and Far Cry on the PC as well. Currently they're at 1080p, but they want to be able to jump up to 1440p, and their budget is $2,000. We should easily be able to get this done for $2,000. We're going to look at super high FPS for you at 1440p for that. And they'd love to upgrade pieces as time goes on and technology gets better. Okay, let's see what you got. Oh my goodness. Here's the problem with these builds. They technically are fine. If you put this together, it would work fine. But the level of performance here for almost $2,000, $1,886, I just think is not good enough. This is like a $1,500 build maximum to me. And we've way overspent on a lot of stuff. Will this do 1440p? Yeah, for at least a couple years, given the VRAM, and we'll talk about that in just a moment. But I just see that we could have gotten you 240 hertz, 1440p, completely future-proofed for about the same amount of money, and it really pains the soul to watch. What am I talking about? Let's start off with the GPU. Unless you absolutely tell me you have to have NVIDIA for some reason, typically it's because I use Adobe Creative Suite. Yeah, that makes sense. Otherwise, no, do not get these GPUs with only 12 gigs of VRAM for $800. The RTX 4070 Ti. I don't really like them. I would much rather you go with the 7900 XT or 7900 XTX. And frankly, for $2,000, we're not spending enough money here on our GPU anyway. We could have gotten way more performance out of this build by shifting money towards our GPU and jumping up a tier. I don't like the 12700K. Here's why. Old architecture, not worth the money. Yes, you're like, Jason, it's $269 right now. Great deal, right? No, it's not a great deal. Don't go for it. The problem with the 12700K, it requires tons of cooling, requires a Z790 motherboard to get the most of it, or Z690 motherboard rather, to get the most out of it. And there are better CPUs that are so much cheaper with newer architecture that use less power and give you more performance. So that's the direction I would go instead. I like the Enermac Liquimax 3 360 ARGB cooler. I think for $98, this is a great budget 360 millimeter cooler. Would have been great for the 12700K or 13700K, but I don't think we need it. I think we've just spent $100 on something that basically we could have just tacked onto the price of the CPU and seen that, oh, that CPU doesn't really make any sense because it's going to require us to get a cooler like this. I don't like the Asus Prime Z690-P Wi-Fi. Why? Because you can really only use it with 12th gen Intel parts, although that's what you're doing here. $150, very cut down motherboards. I reamed Asus out on our Z690 motherboard video, almost 2 years ago now when they first came out, and they don't have BIOS flashback on them. So if you decided all of a sudden, okay, Jason, I'm going to go 13600K instead, you wouldn't use this board because it doesn't have BIOS flashback. The RAM, DDR4 3600 CL18, you went 32 gigs for $61. Look, it's great price. But 3600 CL16, I would get the tighter timings. I know it's like another 30 or 40 bucks because those less mainstream RAM kits are becoming fewer and farther between as we see a shift to DDR5 from DDR4. Love the Silicon Power A82 terabyte. I love its new price of $80 US. That's insanely good value. It says DRAM on it. If you missed our best SSD for gaming video, I'll leave a link to it down in the video description. I did like the Corsair 4000D when this was an $89 case. But the case market's changed a lot, and while this remains a super popular case because of the looks and it's Corsair, it doesn't come with enough fans, and honestly, the case market has gotten a lot cheaper. I think this is a $79 case to me. We don't have enough fans for the case, so we totally forgot that item, so I'd throw another 30 bucks in here. Gigabyte 1000 UD power supply. This is actually a very good power supply despite Gigabyte's bad reputation because of their PB or whatever they were power supplies. This is actually, the UD one is very, very good. I believe this is B tier rated, if not A tier rated. Fully modular unit, 1000 watts, and it's a pretty good price for 175 bucks. So overall for $1,886, we just got not great levels of performance here. I'm disappointed with where we went with our CPU GPU combo. I think we massively undersized our GPU because we think we need like all this extra CPU power to stream or something like that, when really we don't. Just feel like we're falling short. I called this the $2,000 insanely high FPS 1440p and 4K gaming build. In fact, I would say with this build right here, where we finished at $2,012, this is going to get you super hyped. Let's just jump in the GPU and talk about the FPS. We went with the Power Color Hellhound Radeon RX 7900 XTX 20 4 gigabytes of VRAM. You are not going to have to worry about VRAM. This is an amazing GPU. Absolutely stomps that 4070 Ti into the ground, stomps the 4080 in rasterization, and it's $980 basically. This is the amount you should be spending on your GPU, by the way, for a $2,000 build. For the CPU, if you're doing something at the ultra high end right now, you are not looking at Intel. And I would not advise anyone to look at Intel unless you also do a lot of productivity work. Ryzen just completely stomps them into the ground right now until they come out with 14th gen. The Ryzen 7600 is the CPU I was gonna go with, but I just kind of felt like you wanted something beefier. I could kind of feel that in the 12700. So I went with the AMD Ryzen 7 7700. Now note, this comes with an included Wraith Stealth box cooler that would be fine. You can turn on Precision Boost Overdrive with it. Looks nice, has some RGB to it. I think you want the liquid cooler though, so that's the direction I went. And in terms of overall performance, this is absolutely gonna stomp that 12700 into the ground in gaming with an GPU like the 7900 XTX. For the cooler, we went with the Deepcool LS520. I know you wanted some bling. I wanted to get you some bling, $92. Really, really high performance, really, really quiet. Absolutely love this unit, and I think you will too. For the board, we just went and got you a basic motherboard because in order to get upgraded features, you got to spend like another $100. Just doesn't seem worth it to me. I went with a Gigabyte B650M DS3H. There's a board by ASRock out there. There's a couple different cheap B650s. This is what I would recommend for $125. Great VRM heat sinks on it, 4 DIMM slots. Really going to get you all you need right now to get going. For the RAM, I wanted to get you something awesome and RGB. I went with Team Group T-Force Delta, 32 gigs, DDR5 5600 CL32. This is going to be relatively fast. You can spend more money, but in order to get an RGB kit that's faster than this, you got to go up to like almost another $30. And I just didn't feel like it was really worth it. You're not really going to see the levels of performance if you're at 1440p or 4K. 32 gigs, you get amazing RGB for it, and you get a relatively fast kit of 5600 CL32. We stuck it out with your drive, Silicon Power A80, great drive. And for the case, I went out and got something cheaper. Look at this. Look what you can get for $71 right now over at Newegg. This is the Fractal Design Pop Air Mini. Now this is a micro ATX case. It's not a full-size ATX case or a mid-tower ATX, I should say. But this is all the case you need. It looks super slick too. It's got 3 included ARGB fans. You're gonna put your Deepcool AIO right up top here with a couple more ARGB fans. This thing is gonna look absolutely amazing. You're gonna love this case. Power supply, because we're using a lot less energy now, we went with Ryzen instead of 12th gen Intel. We can get away with 850 watts, so we went with a cheaper unit, and we went with an A-tier rated unit. So we actually came up on the PSU Cultist tier list for $129 right now. You can get the MSI MPG A850G. This is a PCIe Gen 5 one, so it will have that 16-pin power connector. If for whatever reason you lose your mind, decide to go with NVIDIA, you can do that. So even with your Windows license, we came out to $2,012.67, and we got insanely more performance with that RX 7900 XTX. Gonna totally smoke that 4070 Ti you were looking at. Will not have to worry about VRAM issues into the future with those 24 gigs of VRAM. We got you a much more performative platform in the AMD Ryzen 7 7700, including the fact that you're going to be able to drop in a future CPU upgrade into that Gigabyte B650M DS3H motherboard. And we got you a great kit of 32 gigs of RAM that's actually good speed and RGB, while changing out the case for something that's going to look absolutely amazing. And we preserved your bling with that Deepcool AIO. So I hope you feel like your build is boosted. All right, we got Better Dr. Scriff. Is that your name? Hi, Jason, looking to build a PC that can game at 1440p over 144 FPS at high settings. You mainly play first-person shooters like Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2. Really, you play that at high settings? Most people turn that down to competitive settings, kind of lower settings. To be honest, I've been fluctuating with my budget. I want to say it's between $1,000 and $1,500. Okay, that's a big flux in there. Can't figure out a budget because I don't know how realistic it is to get high resolution and high frame rates at a specific budget. Well, let's see what you've got. I suspect for $1,500, we can definitely get you a super high FPS 1440p build for, between that price point. Oh boys, this build in some serious trouble. The post kind of felt like, oh my gosh, I give up. I don't know how to do this. What am I doing wrong? Let's get you back on the right path because this build's a mess, an absolute mess. You spent $1,741.80. You're already $241 $41 over your budget, and I can tell that you don't know how to get to where you're going. I do see that we've included a monitor in here for $300. I don't mind the Asus VG27AQ. It's decent enough 1440p gaming monitor. $300. There's some better models out there. We'll talk about that in just a bit. I'm guessing that this is part of our overall build, so we've got to find $241 and somehow get the ship on the overall performance of this. Let's start off where else, the GPU. You ended up with an RTX 4070, which, you know, if we're going to end up spending, I guess, what, $1,200, this is not a bad amount to spend on the GPU. We went with the Zotac Twin Edge OC, RTX 4070. Yeah, $589. I don't know, maybe the 6950 XT would be a better fit for us, especially if we want super high FPS at 1440p, and we're primarily looking at those competitive shooter games. We're not going to turn on ray tracing, right? We went with the i5 12600K, and I know it seems like it's getting kind of stupidly cheap at $226, but the 7600 is also the same price. Yeah, the platform costs kind of come out to about the same, but the 7600 is going to give us a lot more performance. We could even look at like an i5 12400 or Ryzen 5600, kind of dropping down in terms of CPU power to ensure we get enough GPU power. I don't love the 12600K. We're going to get more cooling. It's a more expensive CPU. You went with the Vetru V5. Is that enough for the 12600K? Probably. It's going to be noisy. That thing's going to be running really high all the time. The motherboard, we went the Asus TUF Gaming Z690 plus Wi-Fi. Nothing bad about this board. $229. The price has come down. It does have upgraded ALC 1220 audio on it, which is nice. Comes with Wi-Fi on it. You know, there are cheaper motherboards that have this similar feature set though, especially since we're so far over our budget. For the RAM, we got 32 gigs of RAM. I saw nothing in there that told me that we needed 32 gigs, so we're already spending a little bit more than we need to. Yes, I know it's DDR4, it's cheaper, but we got 3600 CL18 memory instead of 3600 CL16. So a little question mark there. Those tighter RAM timings are going to help, especially as we get up in GPU power, and we could have gotten 16 gigs of that faster RAM for less money. Crucial P3 Plus, great drive. You probably get slightly cheaper version or slightly cheaper drive, similar performance for a little bit less, but $10 for 1 terabyte is great. We went with the Lian Li Landcool 216. I know I've talked this case up in our recent 7800X 3D build. This was a great case to build in. $100 though, when we're already, you know, I guess it's about 10% of our budget. We didn't even get the RGB version, which I would recommend for $10 more. I mean, why not? You're going all out. I do really like this case, but we got to find somewhere to cut money because we're so far over budget. Power supply, 850 watt unit. I believe this is B tier rated. Maybe it's A tier, the NZXT C850. You know, there's some slightly cheaper units out there. Not a bad amount to spend. The 12th gen Intel, especially the 12600K, is forcing us to get a bigger PSU. That might be about the right wattage, 850 watts. So we're having to spend about $140. So all told for $1,741. Again, we're already $241 over our budget, and our build is a mess, not giving us the performance level I think we deserve. I called this the $1,500 Ryzen high FPS gaming PC build, 1440p gaming. Let's check this out. $1,500. We did it. When I saw this build initially at $1,741, I thought there's no way with a monitor. How are we going to do this? There's no freaking way. But somehow we made it work. Let's start with a monitor. We got you a way better panel. The ASUS panel's fine, but the Gigabyte M27Q-P or M27Q-Pro, it's listed both ways, is a way better panel. It's got great accuracy to it. It's got really good response time. We go through all of its stats in our Best Gaming Monitor 2023 video down in the video description. Check it out. And it's the same price as the monitor you were looking at. Really, the heart of this build starts with the Power Color Red Devil OC Radeon RX 6950 XT. 16 gigabytes of VRAM, 2 thumbs up versus the 12 on the 4070. Yes, 4070 uses a lot less power. We had to up the PSU for this thing. That was a little challenging to get under our $1,500 budget, but I decided to go for it because the titles you're talking about, playing first-person shooter titles, these are all rasterization. You don't want to really worry about ray tracing. You want to play at high details because all the titles you're talking about, especially like Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2, perform way better on Radeon GPUs than they do on NVIDIA RTX GPUs. So for $629, only $30 more than the 4070, this is definitely the one I would grab. 15% higher performance in terms of rasterization. In order to make us all go, I had to completely push down the CPU a little bit. I went with a Ryzen 5 5600. 12600. Not that much less performance than the 12600K, by the way, selling for about $130, $132 over at Amazon, B&H, Newegg. The Amazon price right now is screwed up for some reason. You cannot get it for $100. That would be amazing. Comes with an included box cooler. We've gone through this CPU a number of times. It's just a price to performance champ in the mid-range right now. I know you like that ASUS TUF Z690 motherboard, so I got you the ASUS TUF Gaming B550 Pro. Has upgraded ALC. I think it's 1220 audio on, if not it's 1200 audio. Great. It's got nice features, great VRMs. You can upgrade this to a 5800X 3D one day if you want. Got the front panel USB Type-C on it. Only $150 right now over at either Amazon or at Newegg. For the cooler, I decided to upgrade the cooler. Thermalright Assassin King for $21 is an insane value. This actually has 5 heat pipes and it's ARGB. For the RAM, I added a little bit of bling here and I tightened up those timings. We got you 2x8GB kit of DDR4 3600 CL16 RAM and it's RGB for $60. For the drive, I simply went with the cheapest M.2 NVMe SSD I could find right now. MSI Spadium M371 is on sale. It's a fine drive. It's not the highest performance out there. For the case, I wanted to get you something that felt like the LandCool 216 with those big fans on it, because obviously you like that. And I wanted to make sure it actually fit within our budget. So I went with a GamDias Apollo M1 Elite. Now this has two fans. I believe these are either 200mm or 160mm RGB fans. It's got one rear included non-RGB fan. The ports on the front actually light up with RGB, which I think is super cool. Now, if you don't like the RGB, you can obviously go ahead and turn off the RGB. That's easy to do. But I love the price, $63. $63. PSU, we can get away with 750 watts here because we went with a Ryzen 5600. 2 thumbs up to the 5600 for saving us there. So we went with a 750 watt Corsair RM750E. It's A-tier rated. It's fully modular. One of my top recommendations for $99. So overall for $1,500, 15% more rasterized performance with the RX 6950 XT. We right-sized your CPU with a Ryzen 5600, allowing us to get in under your insanely tight $1,500 budget. We cut $241 out of your budget and actually increased performance here. We got you a better 1440p gaming monitor for the same price. So I hope you feel like your build is boosted. Remember, if you got value out of the video, give it a like. This makes a huge difference to the channel, especially this guy right here. And of course, subscribe and click that bell icon. That way you get notified when we release cool content. Speaking of cool content, can't get enough of Boost My Build? Don't worry, we've got an entire playlist right here. All our latest episodes. Did you catch them all? They're a lot of fun, and we'll catch you on the next one.